Good morning, Zambia. Today we are going to be talking about President Hakainde Hichilema's interview on BBC, because there are some shocking revelations that were obviously exposed during that particular interview. So in today's live stream, we are going to talk about, the Treasury, Zambia's Treasury, and how bad the situation is. I'm also going to be playing a little snip pic from I don't know, like a few years ago, where we saw President Edgar Lungu talk about, not really stealing everything, even though uwomba muivala adia muivala. So these are the things that we are going to be talking about. So before we jump into today's episode, I need you to share this video right now, because we are going to be talking about important issues that really affect you and I. We're also going to talk about what the UPND needs to do at this particular moment, because our budget is mostly going to be used to finance either loan interest rates and paying salaries of Zambian workers. So basically we need to start from scratch. So what other methods are we going to be using in order for Zambia to sort of revitalize itself and just head for success? Because, as much as we want to think that the UPND has got a lot of time, the UPND has got a lot of pressure, because a lot of people are expecting the best from them. But due to the fact that they have inherited huge sums of debt, and this is a very bad situation. We need to figure out how we're going to be able to maneuver and find ways of making money. So without further ado, my name is Mnalula. We are the leading voice for the Zambian youth. So before we jump into this episode, share everything, and I want to hear your comments and suggestions with regards to how Zambia can easily start producing and generating a whole lot of revenue. So without further ado, let's listen to President Hakainde Hichilema, and let's jump into this.
We inherited an extremely difficult situation, a very bad situation. We knew that the situation would be that good economically, socially, but they're always much bigger than we expected. And we're just sort of digging in now. For example, the debt position itself was not fully disclosed, and we're picking issues around that. We're picking issues in terms of, movements of, cash, which is really not supposed to be the case, but we believe we'll be on top of things very soon in terms of knowing the extent of the damage.
Okay, so let me pause it right there. So he basically talked about 2 points. He talked about the extent of the accumulated debt is very obscure, and it's very hard to find relevant information with regards to these loans that we collected. And this really brings us to the point that I made in yesterday's episode, where I was talking about the issuance of bonds, because we obviously heard the leaked information that was really sort of highlighting, or rather shedding more light to this particular issue. So obviously we understand the loopholes that these people were using to siphon money out of Zambia. So if we talk about Zambia's debt, right, if we really analyze everything, the debt that we're actually having is mostly due to some named Zambian people. So these are the things that we really need to take a look at. And the other point that he raised was, obviously, understanding a lot of other things with regards to the Treasury and how much money was left, which is very sort of hard to analyze. And obviously, due to the fact that we have inherited an empty Treasury, although we are seeing statements from the Bank of Zambia, he's saying there's actually 2.9 billion which has been left in the Treasury, which obviously needs to be clarified a little bit later, because you can't really trust these people. So there are a lot of issues that we're going to talk about. So let's jump back into listening to President Hichilema.
It has been done, but there's a lot of that.
When you say that some things that are not yet clear, are we talking about corruption?
We're talking about the full extent of the debt, number one, as an example. We're talking about, if you like, the levels of corruption that we are beginning to pick, a lot of illicit, movements of funds. But I don't want to preempt things, but
So here, when we talk about the illicit movement of funds, right? We obviously saw the Drug Enforcement Commission get to freeze some accounts of prominent people because there is illicit movement of money. You see, money can always be retraced because when you are conducting financial transactions, you obviously involve a ledger. You know, there's incoming and outgoing, so money can't really be safely hidden in that particular way unless you're using blockchain technology, and there are private cryptographic ways of hiding the movement of money, but those can also be traced if you really go deep into the code and how everything is being done. So when it comes to moving money from one bank to another, from Zambia to another country, it's obviously going to be traced. So this is one of the things that obviously the UPND government is doing via various institutions such as DEC, FIC, and a whole lot more, right? We need to sort of stop this money from moving around because we need to track and trace everything that is being done. So let's continue listening to President Hichilema.
What we're picking is horrifying. They're still trying to do things now. And even when we made pronouncements very clear that we want to stabilize the country, people are still trying to make last-minute movements of funds which are unauthorized, which are not theirs. But we'll get to the bottom of that very soon. Obviously, also, for example, if you look at the size of the payroll, you begin to see that there are a lot of people who are not working, but they're on the payroll, exerting a further burden to the Treasury, which is already stressed.
Okay, well, let's turn to those creditor negotiations. It's been stressed the IMF is going to be one of those organisations that is key to your recovery. Why? And also, how is that going to fit in with the fact that a quarter of Zambia's foreign debt, which stands at £13 billion, is actually held by China and Chinese entities, and they are locked in, which gags Zambia by their highly secretive clauses. That won't sit well with the IMF.
Before we talk about IMF, Professor, before we talk about the Chinese, we ourselves, as citizens of Zambia, we ourselves as the government, as the leadership of this new leadership of this country, send a clear message that we're here to do business and serious business. What do I mean? We are here to control frivolous expenditure, to be prudent, to make sure that we understand that resources are scarce and they ought to be utilized in a most optimal manner. That's very, very important for us. Before we can extend a request to anybody to assist us, we must assist. We must help ourselves with better. This is fundamental, and that's who we are. And you already were beginning to show that side of us, that we're different. We come in with seriousness. We come in with integrity. We come in with, if you like, self-restraint on utilization or access to resources. Then we can walk with our heads high to talk to the IMF that we need the support. We're actually not concerned about the IMF so-called conditionalities. Our own minimum requirements are much higher than what the IMF wants. I think that's what the people of Zambia need. They need zero tolerance to corruption.
So when you talk about zero tolerance to corruption, right, this is a very important, point that we need to clarify, because just like I keep on saying, everything starts and ends with leadership. Obviously, the previous government did, or rather were aware of all these, illicit activities, but we obviously didn't really get a strong opposition to these particular activities. And we obviously have a very good prime example whereby His Excellency, the former Republican President Edgar Lungu, he was even heard multiple times. There's plenty of audio being circulated out there. You can actually find it online. He was actually telling people, look, if you're going to steal, please do not steal everything, because noti, kulya, imbuto. So obviously he was aware of these illicit activities, and he was tolerant to it. And this is one of the things that the UPND has to do differently. You have to have a zero tolerance to corruption. And in case you think I'm lying, we have actual footage of former Republican President Edgar Lungu talking about this particular, fact, or rather notion. So let's listen to this as well.
So we will leave government without money, but the Zambian people get all the benefits. That we must make very clear. We are your servants, we listen to you. But finally, and most importantly, to those of you charged with the task of managing these resources, please don't let the people of Zambia down. There is a saying I used 2 days ago, I'll use it again.
So that was the president talking about imbuto, not finishing the seeds. But unfortunately, the Treasury has been emptied, because these are the statistical facts that President Hichilema and the UPND Alliance are finding with regards to our budget. Now, let's talk about our budget, because you have to decipher the Zambian budget. 30% of our budget goes to financing the interest loans. Okay, so if you take a look at our budget, 30% of it is allocated to servicing our loan interest. And if you look at the 70% which is remaining, right, we obviously have expenses. Workers need to be paid, roads need to be renovated, roads need to be redone, infrastructure needs to be created, and other stuff. So mostly our budget basically doesn't really go to the generation or rather endeavoring into ventures that can really help Zambia produce more and more revenue. And in the past, right, we had relevant organizations such as the Zambia Revenue Authority, actually parastatals, get choked up with regards to the revenue collection, because the cadres were getting, or rather obtaining, the flow of income. And recently we saw the Lusaka City Council make amendments. We also saw huge revenue coming from the Kazungula border. So obviously in the past 10 years, right, all our revenue sort of generating ventures didn't really amount to anything, because everything was being siphoned by their cadres. So this time around, we need to have solutions that really help us maneuver in a way that we are going to be using less capital and generating more income. And this is where I'm trying to find out from you, the citizens of Zambia, now that we are in this particular predicament, right, how are we going to do things, due to the fact that our budget mostly is not really going to allow us to sort of invest in activities that are really going to help us generate money. So apachimofe na kuunganda, apachimofe at kuunganda ka mukwete FMP yakushira survive ne yakushira if yakude. You don't really have extra money to sort of risk and sort of create that other flow of income. So as a citizen of Zambia, what is your solution? How can Zambia sort of use minimal resources, due to the fact that our budget is mostly going to be used up for other activities that don't really allow us to sort of explore these other activities which could be risky, because getting into a business is obviously risky, and obviously experimenting on things are obviously risky. So we need to have solutions that are really going to just allow us to sort of use minimal resources, minimal capital, and then we just sort of start benefiting and getting that income generating sort of revenue. And of course, I'm here to give you the solutions. I do have a little insight with regards of how we can use minimal capital. So I really hope that the UPND government is going to be listening to this, because now that our budget is obviously going to be heavily stressed, right, we're not really going to have the luxury of risking into going into other ventures, right? We need now to use creativity and initiative. Okay, a lot of people have done very well in life using their initiative and their creativity, and this is one of the reasons why Zambia now needs to take advantage of technology. In 2001, right, when we experienced the technological boom, aka the dot-com bubble, right, we obviously saw a lot of wealth get to be manufactured. Let's say, for example, Amazon, Facebook, right? These are the companies that really ended up succeeding because they were sort of riding the wave of the dot-com bubble, and we saw a lot of businesses and a lot of wealth get generated. For example, Amazon really has a lot of people. Facebook has a lot of people. Amazon, Facebook has really generated a lot of revenue for the American government. So as Zambia at this particular moment, we have to look at modern day solutions in order for us to, number one, use less capital. We are going to employ a lot of creativity and initiative because at this particular moment we do not have the luxury to sort of start pumping money in other money generating ventures. So apa kuskafe imitwe and then just start working on good technological ventures that can really allow us to maneuver with minimal capital. So relying on technology, blockchain technology is a very great venture that can allow us to sort of tokenize different assets, because nowadays you can actually get to tokenize assets. So tokenization of different assets is one of the ways that the Zambian government can actually get to use without even using a lot of capital. You can only use minimal capital, and we are here to help because we've been tokenizing a lot of different assets, and we are very strong in this particular niche. So it's one way that we can get to use less capital to generate a lot of wealth. But it's very easy to get ourselves out of this particular problem, provided we just apply our initiative and our creativity. Because there's a lot of modern ways that we can really get to generate and build wealth for Zambia. Because at this particular moment, using the old ways of trying to build wealth, it's really going to be capital intensive, and right now we don't really have the luxury to sort of use a lot of capital to generate revenue. So it's all about deploying people who are capable of utilizing technology, and they've got ideas on how to sort of use little resources to generate a whole lot. And if you look at companies such as Amazon, it employs a lot of people, a lot of Zambian youths. Right now the Zambian population is mostly occupied by the youths. These youths have got a lot of power, they've got a lot of energy, but they just don't have what to do. So what we need to do is we also need to use our human labor capital, because it is capital. It is something that we can use to propel ourselves further and just get to improve our situation. So my suggestion to the UPND Alliance is look at ways of generating revenue using minimal resources. If you're my youth empowerment, you start giving money to people who are who haven't even done businesses, who are likely to default on loans. Initiative and creativity and relying on talent, because our budget is obviously very stressed at this particular moment, because Treasury nabapua, imbuto shonse nabapua. And the other thing that we need to talk about is especially you, the older generation, our elders, you didn't really do much to sort of put us, your children, in a better position. Now we are in a predicament where we need to start working from scratch, and we need to start looking for ways of solving your problems that you created. And we also have our problems, and the people who are behind us are also going to have our problems. So what we need to do is we need to have leadership that really understands their role, so that they can actually get to pass the baton to us, and we can just hit the road running. So the type of problem that Zambian youths have at this particular moment is they've got three problems. Number one, they need to solve your problem. So the previous generation, the baby boomers, the millennials now have got problems where they need to look at your problems and the people who are coming behind us. So we need to have a mentality where we understand our roles. When it's your time as a youth, you need to utilize your time, create enough capital, put your family on a pedestal, and leave the next generation some benefits and less problems, so that they can just take over and move on like that. But this time around, we have to solve your problems, and we've got a president who was even blatantly talking about these issues. He was saying imbuto muidia batu bomba muivala, which is absolutely you know, it's very despicable, and I'm not really sure, because you lawyers can actually get to advise me on this. Isn't this like a confession? I mean, obviously you lawyers have got more experience than me, so please, I'm asking for your clarification. Such you know, a confession, isn't this confirmation to anyway, now like I should have my problem. So what I want you to do right now, because I've got people who are watching me live, let me know your solutions about the problem that Zambia has. Is we don't have the luxury to go into capital intensive ventures that are really going to allow us to generate revenue. So we've got human capital, we've got youth, we've got a large population with the youth. So how are we going to be able to create wealth using very little capital? So I want you to give me about 5 different ways, because we need to be proactive. We need to put ourselves out there, and it's not even about withholding your ideas, because a lot of you have got this mentality whereby you're like, gonna have a bit of my ideas, they'll steal it, and I'm not even going to benefit. Montuandi, this is our country. As a patriotic Zambians, as patriotic Zambians, we're supposed to act you know, in a way that really gets to benefit the majority of Zambians, because if everybody is doing well, everybody does well. So now, can you imagine, let's say for example in a family, you're the only guy who's doing well, everybody else is struggling. Basically, you're not really going to have a good time, because you'll be spending your time helping all your other family members instead of you know, everybody doing well and just enjoying life. So as Zambians, we need to have that mentality whereby we all look out for each other. You know, don't be selfish and stingy with your ideas. If it means disseminating this information and giving it to the UPND Alliance, give them these ideas and let them implement, because it's going to trickle down to you and I. You and I are also going to benefit eventually, because when the majority of Zambians are doing very well, right, the GDP goes up, they're going to be able to have like very good you know, income. Everybody is going to enjoy, and we're all going to be happy. So it's not really about rivalry and saying vaniba PF, vaniba UPND, what forward. It's about you know, collectively doing well, because if we collectively do well, everybody is going to benefit. Once $1,000, there will be a lot of work when you graduate from university. There's readily available employment for you. But if you become stingy like what we saw, right, only cadres were becoming wealthy. You know, what did we benefit as Zambians? Zambia Revenue Authority wasn't able to like collect a lot of revenue. Lusaka City Council, because people were selfish. You know, there's always money for everybody out there, provided everybody applies themselves and stuff. So don't be stingy with the money, with the ideas, and be fair. Make sure you look out for your brothers. Make sure everybody eats. Not to kula imbuto. The treasury doesn't need to be depleted like this. We need to have a situation whereby the Kwaisa new leadership, right? Everything, we know, they just come up with their own ideas and they propel Zambia to the next level. But having situations where you find an empty treasury, imbuto na varia, where are you going to begin? Now you have to fix their problem. So at this particular moment, the UPND Alliance has to fix this particular solution, and they also have to sort of propel their ideas. So basically, the UPND Alliance and the UPND in general doesn't really have a lot of time, because at this particular moment, the Zambian youth are going to go back to them saying, okay, pesa, and you've run out of time. We are not really seeing any progress. So at this particular moment, by UPND, work with people. Make sure you utilize, you know, how can I even put it? Make sure you utilize people who've got ideas and people who've been doing it. And at this particular time, right, we need to avoid experimenting. The youth empowerment from last year was a total blunder, because it was bound to not succeed, because you are getting to sort of trust people with huge sums of money, people who are just, I don't know, maybe just getting into business. They've never done any business, and you already know that when getting to run a business, right, there is a learning curve. You're not just going to succeed in a mwamba business. In a mwamba business, 5 years, 7 years, you get bankrupt, you lose money. That's how business goes. But the previous government, they were just, you know, due to the fact that they had access to the treasury and they could just basically do whatever they want without even thinking about these things. They were just, you know, giving Ama empowerments left to right, even to people who are not even, you know, capable of, you know, returning this money. Of course, I'm not really saying everybody that got this money wasn't able, or rather isn't able to pay back, but I'm just saying the criteria that was used is obviously one which is poised to sort of not succeed, if I can put it that way, because, you know, running a business is something which is not easy. You have to have a lot of, you know, heart. You have to have persistence and stuff. And I'm sure from a personal level, right, you've done this in your life. Now, this is, you know, specifically for business. But in the long run, you stop and then you're like, okay, that money that I had wasn't enough. I wish I could have more money. But this time around, we need to have a different approach. We need to use less resources and use a lot of creativity and initiative. And just like I told you, technology is a great way to do this. Blockchain technology is an emerging ecosystem that can really allow countries, especially African countries, you know, especially African countries, because we are the most vulnerable. We are the ones that really need to propel this particular technology. 20 years ago, everybody that really started and ventured into, you know, the technology at that particular moment, you know, like if you created a site and just sort of went into this particular business, right, you would have obviously done very well. So it's very crucial to move with the times. Yes, we are very proud of you know, is it Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane? He's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of you know, access to different ways of improving Zambia. But this time around, we also need to work with young people who've got, you know, or rather who are privy to emerging ways, or rather modern ways to sort of you know, bring solutions to Zambia. So let's all work together. The older generation, the new generation, we all work together and we collectively progress. So anyway, that's all I had for you. I really hope that you enjoyed this one. My name is Mnalula. Z Corner is the leading you know, platform for the Zambian youths, and I'm obviously going to be looking forward to hearing 5 solutions that you have for Mother Zambia. How is Zambia going to be able to use minimal capital and then maximize our return on investment? So please let me know in the comment section below. In case you've got any additions, subtractions, drop everything in the comment section below, because I really look forward to hearing your feedback. So that's all I had for you. Have a great day, have a great evening, and God bless you. Take care, and remember, always hustle.